Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Richard Fairgray. We're here to break down the ex-wives of Frankenstein, issue 1 and 2, and everything in between. Richard, this cover is badass. It reminds me of the first one, but even crazier. It's so that's like the real molded hands holding phones.
Yep, it's two paper mache hands that I built inside a wooden box. My original idea was that it would actually be like a closable object, so I could like take it to cons and sell it, but the hands are too big and so the lid can't close. And then they're holding cell phones that have on them drawings of the two characters that are actually it's one of these things again where I'm doing that dumb bullshit where I'm like, I'm not going to do any digital anything on this fucking thing. So the original the photograph, the first photograph I took of it, I just had the phones lit up with the pictures on the screens, and then I realized they weren't kind of popping color wise. So rather than like change it later, I printed it out. Essentially, like I printed out onto acetate the images that were on the phone screens with a color tint on each one, and then layered those pieces of acetate in front of the camera to try and like line it up. So they're actually like a little bit off. I think you can, if you go really close, you can see they're like off by a couple of pixels worth or something. But yeah, it's all a physical sculpture. And the fun part of this one is that when I did it, the sculpture is in my closet and it's quite high up, and the phones are glued into those hands, so I cannot get those back, and they are turned on. And what's amazing is if you have a OnePlus 6, which is an old phone of mine, those batteries just fucking last, especially if you're not doing anything with them. So if, for instance, you've reactivated that phone to use for a Ex-Wives of Frankenstein cover and it still has several alarms set on it, they will just be going off for weeks.
I do the same thing. I have to have my phone and I have my iPad set up so I don't sleep through my phone. Multiple alarms set up, and then that's not even including the alarm on my dresser. My daughter, we woke up for school this morning and she's like, you got a lot of alarms going off. I'm like, hey, we're never late though. We're always on time.
Have you seen the that it's like a car, like with not, it's like a remote control toy car type vibe, but it's an alarm clock, and when it goes off, it zooms off your table and like zooms around the room in like random directions, so the alarm is just going all around you, and you have to get out of bed and chase it to turn it off.
I would be infuriated. My bed, my Roomba gets stuck underneath my bed, so I can only imagine that car getting stuck, and then like you're tired, you're groggy, you have to move your bed to turn this alarm off. Oh man.
But it would wake you up.
Yes, the cool one. There's ones where a target comes on, you have to shoot it. That looks awesome.
Okay, I would be very bad at that.
Yeah. That was a horrible one for me to bring up. So, Richard, I had a chance to check out some of these interiors, and I have to, this is like a reoccurring thing that I always bring up, but you always find new ways to kind of just push the boundaries or push like what a traditional comic feels like and create something entirely different. You have the wine glass reflection that was just blew my mind, but then there was the other one where they're ice cubes and then they're like in the drink, and it was such a cool image. And how did these ideas just populate? Like how do you come up with these type of panels?
Well, I've been doing this basically every day for 32 years at this point, and the biggest challenge I have is how am I going to not be bored today? Like, what can I do to myself? What hell can I put myself through that will keep this this job that I will have until I die engaging to me? I've always said that like it takes me less time to draw a 24 panel page than it does to draw a 3-panel page, because the more complicated it gets, the more interested I am and the less likely I am to just get distracted. I think with this story particularly, I knew that it was going to be like it's two women having conversations. Like they're going to interesting places or like visually kind of spectacular places, and in grimy, horrible ways, things that I find beautiful. But they are really just sitting and talking, and I wanted to like really capture the tension of that in a way that if this were a film, it would be just cutting between close-ups and mid-shots and what have you, and there would be some background, but like it would be able to hold on these things. And I want to really control time with this story. I want people to, I can't direct actors. I can direct drawings to deliver these lines in the strangely stochastic ways that I want them to. And so to do that, the option is either it's 37 panels in a row of someone getting one sentence out with a close-up on their face, or I can have them, metaphorically they're diving into something, or they're like hiding in the drink or whatever. So fuck it, why not do it visually? Why not use the ice cubes as this idea of like, Victoria is swimming in the vodka, and the freedom of that, while Elizabeth is cold and restrained, standing on an iceberg, being an iceberg herself, but being able to use the spear from her martini to as a way to help Victoria up, always with the idea that her way of helping is to make Victoria more like her. So there's still this like sense of control at all times. And I get like fascinated by the ways that you can visualize intention without having to stick to literally what is going on.
And I really love that too, because Victoria is the bride. She's all stitched together and everything, and having Elizabeth trying to control her, shape her. It just kind of feels like it goes hand in hand. Can you give us a little bit about who these protagonists represent within the story?
Sure. So the pitch that I'm giving over and over again, but I try to make sound fresh. It is Elizabeth Frankenstein. And then I just I screwed up.
That was fresh though. You just did it.
I just said Frankenstein. What am I doing? It's Elizabeth Frankenstein and the Bride of the Monster on the day they find out that their husbands are alive, living as a gay couple in the Arctic, and returning to the city as heroes of Reddit, Twitter, and the MRA movement. It is a story about two women who have been pitted against each other by society, by men, by literal monsters, who realize that in this moment they have no choice but to rely on each other because no one else could possibly understand what they are about to be dragged back into.
And that's such a deep feeling, to be able to connect with someone in an area that normally no one you feel like you'd be able to connect with, like, where you're most vulnerable or alone. What was your reasoning for choosing Frankenstein and the ex-wives of Frankenstein?
It started out, it was like this kind of joke that kept coming up. This was all 2017, I think, that it first started, maybe 2018. Where I was, when I was 6 years old, we had to give a book report at school. New Zealand schools are a little bit more advanced than American schools, so we were reading and giving book reports when we were 6. But I was meant to be doing it on Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, which I think is quite a boring book. And so I instead had read Dracula. And I fucking loved Dracula. But I was told that I wasn't allowed to talk about Dracula because my teacher was a born-again Christian who didn't like my leanings toward horror. Mm-hmm. So I drew this beautiful cover that was like a terribly drawn replica of the Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing cover, and inside I wrote a book report about Dracula, and I got up in front of the class and I read it out, and I read this whole thing about how Dracula is a story about secretly gay men finding different ways to penetrate each other while coming up with excuses for it. Obviously I got in a buttload of trouble, and I
see what you did there.
my mother was talking about it, and she said, "What was the gay Frankenstein thing you did?" And I was like, no, it was a gay Dracula thing. And I was like, Frankenstein's not really gay. And I was trying to explain to my mother how Frankenstein isn't gay. And as I was doing this, I was like, wait, Frankenstein is so gay though. Like, it's about this man who goes like this like sniveling weirdo guy who's like so insecure that he like builds himself a man that he can do what he will with. And I don't think it's like one of the things that I really explore in this story is, is this homosexuality or is this pure narcissism? Has he made a man in his own image, someone who he can fuck, who will never reject him? And now with the way he's being celebrated for being an out proud gay man on Twitter, and a hero of the science community for bringing life to the world. while also being a hero of the MRA community because he's literally proven you can create life without the need of a woman. So he's proving to them that he can make women more obsolete. So he gets both sides of everything. It's another thing about like when you are a rich man in the world, you kind of get to do whatever the fuck you want, and everyone will inevitably take your side, at least publicly. And these women who are being forced to like publicly be supportive, and they don't get to be in the messy stages of a breakup because there's so much attention on them for this thing they never asked for. So anyway, so 5 or 6 years ago, I was trying to explain to my mother that Frankenstein wasn't gay. I realized he definitely was. Then my mother said to me, so what was the bride for? So really, this book is my mother's fault, I guess, which is rare. So I kind of started playing with this idea of like what would happen if the bride left the monster. And this went through like many iterations. There was, I wrote a pilot script for sort of a sitcom version of this thing where it was very much about just Victoria on her own, and the presence of Elizabeth as this kind of like threat or like just this tension in the world. And it was never going to be about the men coming back. It was always just like, how do these women live after these events? And then I realized like it kind of wasn't quite where it wasn't the story I wanted to tell. And then I worked with different people at different points, or like talked with different people about making it into like a stage show. And there were talks about doing it as a drama, and all of these things kind of went away. And I just kept coming back to this original idea of like that first scene in issue 1 where it is Victoria has read the thing in the self-help book that tells her to like highlight her scars, highlight her imperfections with lipstick, and then write "I am beautiful" on the mirror. And because she's got so much stitching all over herself, the lipstick runs out before she can finish writing "I am beautiful."
Didn't that come from a real life experience?
Yes, that is a real thing. That again, my mother's fault. This is a real thing that my mother had read in a self-help book when she and my father were getting divorced.
See, I listen.
There's all these pieces from real life and real people's experiences. You know, inside the cover of the books, there's a long list of women in my life who I thank for this book, because it's so many conversations I've had with so many people about like the different ways they've been controlled by someone, mistreated by someone, or like overlooked or put in a position where they can be right, but they don't get to be right out loud. You know, I have a book like Haunted Hill where Eva gets to be a poor version of Larry David. Like she gets to call everyone out on their bullshit, but she doesn't actually. There are consequences for her. Everyone just hates her, and she has no comfort from it. But she still does it. And then because that's a straight comedy, and this book is funny too, but this is far more of a like look at like these women are finding the sanctuary with each other because this is the time they can talk to someone else who will understand.
I love
even
that.
if they're doing it in public.
I love that. So, I mean, give us a little bit, just a brief breakdown. Issue 1, you know, what do we see happen in issue 1?
Issue 1 is the moment that Victoria finds out Elizabeth shows up to her apartment for the first time since 3 years ago when Frankenstein and his monster vanished and everyone presumed they were dead. And she shows up with the newspaper saying that like the headline is "God and Monster Found in Arctic," and there's the only very subtle reference I have in here to who I'm basing Frankenstein and his monster on is you can see the top part of the photo of the two of them together, and I've tried to make it as close as possible to that photo of Elon Musk and Ghislaine Maxwell. So, you know, I'm not. It's subtle, but not that subtle. What I think of these men. So the first issue is them like just trying to figure out like how do we even talk to each other? There's so much bad blood between us. So much shit has happened in the public sphere. We have dragged each other publicly in interviews. We've said these awful things, but like we can't let go. You know, it's the pillow fight episode of Community where Abed and Troy just can't stop hitting each other because as soon as they do, the friendship is over. It's a little bit like that kind of tension. And then at the end of issue 1, Elizabeth walks out, and then Victoria softens for a second and says, like, let's get lunch. And so this is the issue where they are out in the world, and it's kind of like this is the closest they will be. Like the barriers are down. They are really being friends here. And then this is also where the reminders of the shit that's happened before start coming in.
So how does and we're gonna go ahead and let's switch over to the campaign, but how does time work in this universe? Like, how many issues are you expecting to pump out for this series?
It is a 4-issue story that takes place over this one day. I'm only really interested in like how they are experiencing this day together, and like how this news will affect them. I'm not really that interested in telling the story of who they live as, beyond here. If I have a great idea for that, I might come back to this one day, but for now it's a 4-issue arc.
And everyone watching, I mean, we are just $2 away from hitting $4,000. Someone make it happen while we're live.
I will tell you, when like the same thing happened at 3,000, we were sitting at $29.98 for like 9 hours, and I was like, just $2, come on.
Yeah. So the ex-wives of Frankenstein, issue 1 and 2, 2 women living in the aftermath of monsters, trying not to be monsters to each other. And that is like a hard situation to be in, to try to extend the olive branch, to try to make the best of, your situation and what's weighing you down, and, potentially, gain a friend out of it. So what was your inspiration for keeping it across a day? I know with some of your other series, like Haunted Hill, it follows kind of a similar manner where, each issue correlates to a different, period of that day or that time frame. Like, what was, your direction for doing it with this series?
I wanted this to feel like one really long conversation. I think a lot of the time, especially more recently, like the way that we talk to each other has changed. We talk to each other with like, we look for the joke to go out on and that kind of thing. I think it's like we're so saturated in media that we learn to speak as if we're scripted. And I started thinking like, how can I extrapolate that further? Can a conversation in and of itself be a story? And if so, what is the journey of this story? And so it's the four distinct parts of this conversation are like this antagonistic thing at the beginning, the barriers falling down for the second issue and everything being sort of wonderful that is undone by an event at the end of this issue, and then the third part where they're kind of just in survival mode, but all of the old stuff has been dragged back up, and they both get to kind of separately self-medicate while also going back to the castle, for want of a better word, where it all went down, which is of course just a big skyscraper. And then the fourth is the looking for a resolution while knowing there can never really be one.
That is such a deep concept too. I love how, your stories usually have such a deep thing behind it, some sort of event or some sort of situation where it's such a deep perspective. Why center that around it, or a resolution knowing there's not going to be one?
Because real life doesn't have resolutions. Someone described this book as it's a French cinema disguised as genre fiction, and I think that really is what I'm fascinated by at the moment.
What does that mean?
Like, it's look, Kickstarter is filled with books that are, what if this met this, and this is the closest I will get to doing that kind of story. This is what if Frankenstein met, I don't know, I can't think of what the other half of it is, but like, what if Frankenstein met My Dinner with Andre, I guess. And I the way I want to do that is to like, this is Elizabeth Frankenstein's before trilogy. This is so many small conversational pieces, because again, it's 32 years of making comics. Maybe the challenge now is, can I make conversation visually spectacular? Because I'm certainly not going to have, like, these two are not going to, there's not going to be any explosions. There's not going to be any big space lasers. This is going to be finding ways to make the ordinary seem just completely engrossing.
So no space rockets shaped like penises?
No, none at all.
Damn. So this cover, this is such a gorgeous cover.
I'm in love with this cover. Dennis Manhera has done fantastic work as always, but this just blew me away.
Just his coloring. He has such a unique way of like stylizing humans and just like it's such like a watercolor feeling.
It's also that like everyone in it feels like they're moving. There's no one in this looks posed. This is absolutely like we are spying on an intimate moment. I got so nerdy.
Someone
with him.
is right here, it looks like, with their phone taking a picture.
Right, but you know, like they're not posing for the camera that is taking the picture that is the cover. Like that we are seeing a moment that they shouldn't, that no one knows we're watching. We're spying on intimacy here. I got so nerdy with this when Dennis had done the drawing part and he was doing the colors, and he asked me what I was thinking about for the palette. And he said something about, he was like, you know, he wanted to do it very limited with just them in color, them in full color. And I messaged back. I was like, I like that idea. Maybe do the whole thing full color, but then everyone except them has a red color filter over them set to, let's say, like 40%. And he was like, that's specific. I was like, I spend too much of my fucking life figuring out what percentage of the color hole to put on things.
And then he went to do it. He's like, by golly, he's right.
Yep. I can eyeball this shit now.
So this cover is gorgeous. What type of coffee would Victoria drink?
I have gone back and forth on this because I always think like I just like black coffee. I want the dirtiest black coffee I can get. I'm a Starbucks in the streets, Folgers in the sheets kind of boy. And I like the idea that Victoria would drink the same thing as me, but I think that is absolutely wrong. She is buying. My guess is like she wants a cappuccino with an extra shot, but she's also the person who asks every single time how big the cup is that they put it into, so that she can figure out what percentage of like what the milk to coffee ratio is actually going to be.
And this next cover, this is gorgeous as well. I even love the shout out to the artist right there on the laptop.
Yeah, I've been championing Hey Weirdo Amy Wee for so long. I love her stuff. She and I met many, many years ago when I was sneaking in backstage at a concert and she was doing press for the show, and we have been friends ever since. And I'd had this idea and I'd sort of tried drawing it myself as a pinup back in issue 1, and I just kind of couldn't get it to work. And I was like, Amy, we grew up around the same time in the same place. Do you remember when magazines used to have those dress-up dolls that were magnets that mimicked the things that our parents had that were paper? And she was like, yeah, I had the Buffy one on my fridge. I was like, perfect. Do that, but with body parts of Victoria. You can go full nude, show the clam, get out there, and do whatever you want. And like, she really went hard with it. I love this thing. We actually wanted to get a magnet set made of this, and then like literally 45 minutes before the campaign went live, we found out that it was not possible.
Oh,
I had to come up with a different reward instead. But I'm very happy that after having to blur out the dildos on the Haunted Hill cover for Volume 2, I get to have a dildo front and center on this one.
I was going to say, everything's covered, but the dildo's large and in charge.
Well, it's not a dick. It's not nudity.
And then another cool thing. So issue 1, you had the emergency sewing kit. This time around, you have emergency mini torches.
Yep.
Hold on one second. Let me
proof that they work. The emergency mini torches. You could scare away any monster you like with that. Like just charge out, waving it at him, scare him out of town. Perfect. And with each of these, you get there's a QR code inside the box, so you scan that and you can download the comic instantly. That's
you did the same thing with the sewing kit, and it's so cool. What do they do? They have like a Richard scent to them?
They smell like matches.
So no.
Here's the thing though. I think, okay, I've been trying to find a cologne that smells like matches. Like, I'm not a signature scent person because I've never found one. If I could find a cologne that smells like matches, I would be in heaven. If I can sell
Why
like
not
that
just
all the time.
light a match near you, Richard? That would be the same concept, right?
But I'd have to do it all the time. I'd be constantly lighting matches. I guess now I have thousands
That'd be
of matches.
cool as hell, right? You're just in public, just like shit. People are like, "Is he lighting a cigarette?" And you're like, "No, I'm scenting myself."
Okay, so here I'll tell you a little bit of story. I once stole a book from a cafe called "It's Fun to Make Magic." It is a creepy ass book with the most like just the weirdest looking dude showing you how to do magic tricks. And I was in a bit of a funk because I'd been at a convention and this guy had come up to me and told me that there was nothing magical about me, and he was an actual magician, so I believed him.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so rude. He like literally just walked up and was like, "Hi, sorry, I just needed to tell you, I just get the sense for these things. There's nothing magic about you." And then walked
That's
off.
fucked up.
Wow, I've never been like no amount of shade has ever been heavier. Anyway, so I stole this book, and it had this great trick in it where it was like collect a large number of buttons of different shapes and sizes and carry them with you at all times. Carefully observe the buttons on your friends' jackets. Then, when no one's looking, look through your button collection, find one that's similar, put it in your hand, walk up to them, pull on their button, and then open your hand. And for a moment, they will think that you've damaged their clothing. Like, that's not magic. That's the worst. But it had this one trick in it, which was like it taught you how to tape an old matchbook underneath your lapel. And then you could, if anyone ever needed a light, you could just pull a match out of your jacket and it would come out lit. And I was like, that's fucking amazing.
That's kind of cool.
I'm going to train myself to do that. It is going to be so cool. I bought all of these matchbooks and I just like practiced. And then finally I was like, I got this. I got the move down. I was like, time to do it with my jacket. I put the jacket on and I taped it in place underneath there. It was all pressed flat. I stood in front of a mirror and I went, whew, and I set the jacket on fire, and just like this horrible old sport coat that I used to wear everywhere just went up in flames while I'm wearing it. I'm like, oh god, okay, so now I don't do magic anymore.
That's
the
hot.
magician was right.
You get it? We got Nicole in chat saying, "I love this. Welcome to the stream, Nicole. Hope you're having a fantastic day as well. Here are some of the interiors from issue 1, and these are absolutely gorgeous. I love how, once again, we've talked about this in a previous interview, but how there's just, mainly these two are the ones that have the color. Everything else is kind of like a darker tone or a gray tone. This scene in particular is what I was talking about earlier, how everything's like reflecting in the ice cubes and just the rim of the drink right there. It's such a cool view. I love it. What I guess inspired you for this scene?
Throughout the book, I try and have like as many reflections or distortions as I can. I think it's like such an integral part of what it means to be a person being observed. And obviously if you look back to the Frankenstein movies, there's quite a lot of stuff with distortion and things with the lenses they use, but also with the way they frame the monster and things, and the way they frame her and the way she's always obscured. And this, in the Bride of Frankenstein movie, she literally is only in it for like 2 minutes, where she just screams and gets exploded. And so I wanted to say this is the most she'll ever be observed. So throughout both books, we're always seeing them through windows, distorted through the ice, distorted through glasses, always like warped in some way. And then I do a lot of stuff with mirrors, and then a lot of like places where people are in issue 4, there's a lot of stuff where they're in a bar that has all these barriers everywhere, and so you're kind of always seeing them through the frames. And this is in issue 1, there's a moment where a guy is taking photographs of them when they're sitting on the windowsill together, and so I wanted to show in issue 2 that is now on TV. So we're seeing this direct line of the paparazzi were outside her place, and now we're seeing it on television. In the bar where they are, so they're having to see themselves and realize on a delay that they've already been being observed this whole time.
And just your paneling too, the way everything is just always moving and keeping your eyes going from one point to another. It's remarkable. I mean, I love this image in particular as well, the reflection in the background on the mirror. It's awesome.
And look, I totally forgot to censor that one for Kickstarter. Here we are, last day of the campaign.
Last day of the campaign. Screw it. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
Oops.
And right here, the lipstick washing down. I just love how you're just so detailed with everything, like the curtains. How you'd pull the curtains back and turning the water on, and and everything, and the tab you pull up for the shower. It's awesome.
Well, I think like one of the big things that's missing from comics is sound, obviously. And I want people to hear those sounds, those little things, the little sounds of real life that almost never get covered in comic books. I want you to hear the sound of that curtain pulling along that rail and looking at it and going, it's those horrible that's the metal hoops on the on the wooden rail rather than those nice ones with the little rollers on them and things.
I love this scene too, where it's is it fourth wall? It feels like where
it is a little, yeah, because like the entire issue is set inside the apartment, that first issue, and so for them to she literally opens the window and dangles herself outside of the comic, and as you'll see on the next page, as soon as she does, that man photographs her, which is what then ends up in the stuff in issue 2.
Anytime there's feet out, you gotta be careful. So Richard, if there was sound in a comic and every time you opened up a comic it moaned, what would you do?
Moan right back.
I love it. So let's go ahead, let's check out some of these rewards, and then we're gonna scroll down those add-ons. So let's go ahead. We got a digital PDF copy of this at $7. How many pages is this?
It is a 22-page comic with 6 pages of backup material. So 28.
And then we have the PDF catch-up of both issues at $10. So awesome price on that. You can get the emergency mini torch at $10. And you said there is a QR code to download issue 2?
Yep.
So basically, just for $3 more, get yourself some awesome one-of-a-kind emergency mini torches. Let me scroll down. Issue 2 Fairgray cover at $15. It took me a couple interviews before I realized Kickstarter switched everything up with these tabs at the top. Like, I was scrolling through campaigns and I'm like, I can't find your rewards anywhere, guys. Like,
I mean, I haven't seen this before. What you're doing right now is blowing my mind. So,
and then you can get Dennis's cover coming in at $20. It's such a gorgeous piece. And then you can get the other variant at $20 as well. How many people do you think are going to cut out and piece this together?
Oh, I hope a lot. I hope a lot of people are dressing her up.
It's a shame the magnets wouldn't work, because that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
And then the odds object catch-up at $20. So what is it? What's that?
That you get the emergency sewing kit and the matches.
Okay.
So you get 2 things to keep in your bag with you wherever you go, and both PDFs.
And then we have the physicals of issue 1 and 2 at $30. Yeah. So what's the next odds and ends you're going to do? Is that yet to be determined, or have you figured it out yet?
So because the odd object was going to be the magnets for this book, and then it became the matches last minute. But fortunately, I'd already sort of designed that for issue 3. So for issue 3, I think what I will do now that I know the magnets are impossible is maybe coasters, a set of coasters from the bar that they're in. Sorry?
Lipstick.
That's the other option. It's coasters or lipstick, and then issue 4 it is a seam cutter, like for unpicking sewing, so that you can unpick yourself.
Oh my god, I love it. This is really cool too. The comic and pencils at $35. That's such a dirt cheap price for an original pencil from the issue.
And that'll be because I like to, the pages of pencils, they're not what the final page looks like. You get to see the raw, rough version of it with all my mistakes and everything. And I fold it up and stick it in at the page that you get.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that so much. And then you can get all 3 covers coming in at $45. So an awesome price for everyone out there that loves to collect variants. Both issues and 2 pages of pencils at $65. So, I mean, just an awesome price on that if you love some original artwork. We have the issue 1 and 2 cover bundle, so all the covers for issues 1 and 2. And then the Richard Sucks collection. So this has over 500 pages of comics.
So it's a huge digital bundle. You get Octopus, Too Hot for Octopus, Haunted Hill Pencil First, Haunted Hill 2, and Ex-Wives 1 and 2, and then stickers and prints and all the other, bullshit side pieces that have existed in the other campaigns. And then I have original pages There's 5 from each issue available. I think 3 have sold.
Oh, congratulations. That's so cool. We'll check them all out. Though I will say this. The only thing that is kind of a hassle is any optional add-ons. You have to scroll through every single one.
Oh, okay. Like, well, the add-on part is I should also highlight. Any book that comes as an add-on comes signed. So the reason I'm doing that is because a lot of people. I should mention this. I won the GLAAD award last week.
I was gonna bring that up. Congratulations.
Thank you. I got a big trophy. It's very exciting.
Do you have it with you?
No, I do not. Sorry. I should carry it everywhere.
Damn. I was gonna say show it off, Richard.
But so 4-Color Heroes, the GLAAD award-winning graphic novel, for that one just last week, is available as an add-on for $25, and it does come signed. Because a lot of people were asking how they could get a signed one. I'm like, meet me at a convention or buy it from my Kickstarter. The publisher does not have signed comics.
That is
signed
smart.
copies. So, yeah, everyone should get themselves that because it's real good and keeps making people cry.
And Ghost, of course, is that's a touching one too. I love it. Richard, for anyone who's on the fence about backing this with a couple hours left to go, what would you like to say to them to kind of help push them over that hump and get them to back?
You're not going to find any other comics like mine. Like, some of my comics are divisive. Some people get upset because I have too many female characters talking. I've been criticized for that a bit recently by someone.
What?
Oh yeah, someone literally told me that Haunted Hill would be better if Eva was a man. I was like, cool, okay. They told me that they would find it easier to be on her side. I was like, cool, we're not friends.
Yeah, this wasn't made for you.
Yeah. Look, I do a lot of different things. I do a lot of comics that are not like anyone else's. If you like good dialogue-driven, emotionally loaded but funny shit, if you like the kind of stories that are not being told for a change, and if you like seeing queer content that is a little more raw and sloppy than some of the smiley flag waving pride content that's out there, then my books are very good for that.
Sloppy.
Yep. I'm a hot dog enjoying adult boy, as my Twitter profile says.
I remember you were upset that not enough people took advantage of. They used the awkward picture of you like sitting down, and not enough people used hot dog picture. So I made it a point to use the hot dog eating Richard as my picture for the thumbnail.
Thank you so much. I really mean a lot.
I almost had a bowl. We grilled yesterday. I almost had a bowl of hot dogs here, but I didn't have enough time to bust them out. So Richard, you go ahead.
I gotta tell you this. I just moved into a new place, and so I walk in a different direction to get home. And I used to walk past this venue down the street in between my office and my house, and I would time my walk home for like half an hour before any concert finished, so that I would get there just as the hot dogs were being cooked, but before the crowds were there, so I could buy a hot dog on my way home from work each day. And then I moved to this new place, no hot dogs between me and home at all. And now I've moved to a different place again. I walk through the hot dog smell, but I would have to veer off by like a block on Hollywood Boulevard to get a hot dog. And it's a tourist nightmare right now. And it's kind of like really touristy because like the Oscars just happened. There's still kind of some remnants around. People are really like getting in on that Hollywood Boulevard. And I like being on Hollywood Boulevard. It's a fun place to be because you get to like, if you walk past any kid looking at one of the stars, you can whisper to them, I can't believe they're buried right there. But
damn.
Like, come on. You can't tell me you wouldn't do that.
No, I would.
So like I'm having this challenge like every single day of like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I want a hot dog. I can smell a hot dog, but I have to walk slightly out of my way. And I'm very excited that my office is a 3-minute walk from my house because I am a workaholic. And to turn that into a 9-minute walk just for a hot dog seems very, I don't know, it feels too luxurious for me.
How many hot dogs per mile do you think you could walk? I
left a concert early. Like the first concert I went to after like, once I was vaccinated back in 2021. I left a concert early just to get hot dogs before the crowd. And I was so excited to be buying hot dogs from someone on the street again that I bought 5 of them. I ate 4 of them on the walk back to my office. Because again, workaholic, it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. I'm going to go back to the office to do some more work.
Is that the 3-minute walk or?
No, this was more like a 15-minute walk. So I buy 5 hot dogs. I eat 4 of them on the way back to the office, and I eat the 5th one sitting on the toilet. So, I guess I'm kind of a role model, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I've been in some low points in my life, but gobbling down a glizzy on the toilet, that's...
Until you have been Cody, Codifer, if I may use your full name. Until you have been a guest at a prominent writers' festival in Australia, and you have arrived at a fancy-ass hotel where they have seen your social media and purchased you a bucket of KFC that is waiting for you in the room, and then the next morning you're sitting on the toilet eating the KFC because it's really just going right through you, and you forget to put the do not disturb sign on the door, and the maid walks in, and there's just this direct line of sight from open toilet door, me sitting with the bucket between my legs on the toilet. That is low. That is the low point. That is me at 32. That is the low point.
And they're just not breaking the eye contact. Who won?
No one won. Like I just told that story on a podcast somehow as a point of pride. That person is telling that story to a therapist for decades. They're like, I had to stop working in hospitality because someone was eating fucking chicken while shitting.
They sucked on their fingers. You just don't get it.
Here's the worst part. I was letting the bones just drop into the bowl.
Barbaric. Oh my God. Richard, you've been on the show before. We got to reel you back in. For anyone out there looking to dive into a new area, something, uncharted for them, as someone who's been doing this for years and years and years, and you're pushing yourself every time you come out with a book, for someone looking to do the same, what would you recommend is their best approach? I know just do it is kind of just, how it gets done, but to break that barrier that stops you from doing it, how would you recommend going about that?
The barrier that stops you from doing it is being afraid you're going to fuck it up. So fuck up first. Fuck up as fast as you can and as hard as you can. It's the old sketchbook trick. Every time you get a nice new sketchbook, scribble some bullshit on the first page. If you have a nice car, you hate it until it's perfect until it gets scratched once. That first scratch hurts more than any other scratch. Ruining the first page of a sketchbook hurts more than ruining any other page of a sketchbook. Just fuck it up straight away. I always just do an outline of my hand and then scribble all over it, because then I'm like, it's mine. It's my fucking hand. This is my book from now on. I'm allowed to break it. It's this is my hotel room. I'm allowed to eat KFC on the toilet here. This is the way to live. And the second part of it is draw on paper. Just draw on paper. Always learn to draw on paper. If you learn to draw digitally, and draw digitally later on if you want to, whatever. You can make boring art if you like. But learn to draw on paper, because that way you will have to learn to adapt when you fuck things up, because you can't undo. You can always tell an artist who started digitally.
I love that. Your advice is always so straight to the point, and that's one of my favorite things. I mean, we can chat and we just get into some crazy stories, but when it comes to advice, you always come out with just swinging with the best advice I hear. Richard, last but not least, what are you consuming outside of creating when you have time? Outside of hot dogs too. I mean, what books are you reading? What shows are you watching?
I'm watching Girls 5 Eva at the moment. It fucking rules. I am very excited about the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I'm kind of banking those to watch all in one go. I suffered through the Avatar: The Last Airbender live action, which was the most pointless garbage I've ever seen. Although I will say I'm really impressed that they managed to cast it with people whose heads were the exact same shapes as the animated characters. I have to assume that was the decision making. And that's not even a dig. They're really accurate.
I have not heard it. Or seen it, heard it. I have not watched it. I've heard, some less than spectacular things, but I don't know. I always try to watch it before I dog anything, you know what I mean?
It's just sort of pointless. I'm noticing that all the discussion online is people just going, hey, what's really good? the show, the original show. Let's just go watch that. It's the same. It's better. It's just a good version of this. And I'm finally cracking into like this massive pile of books I bought on Kickstarter. So I'm just kind of reading a lot of issue 1s from the past 2 or 3 years that I never got around to.
All right. So Richard, this has to be your 4th or 5th time on the show. We've had you on a lot, I feel.
I was on for Haunted Hill Online, Shed, Octopus, Haunted Hill Volume 1, Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, 4-Color Heroes.
Yeah.
So this is number 7.
Yeah, I think you might be the on the shows in its entirety, probably someone who's been on the most time.
Yeah.
I don't where I was going with that sentence. I'm not exactly sure. My structure could have been a little bit more tighter on that, but yeah, I think you are the number 1 right now. We were talking about it with Edwin from Lost Between Worlds, and he was hitting, I think it was his 4th interview. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, and then I was editing our interview from a couple of shows ago, and I looked, I'm like, dude, Richard has him almost double.
Yeah. Well, look, so the next thing coming out from me is Whale, published by Blue Fox Comics, which is a ghost story about why ghosts wail. And then right after that, or maybe during that campaign, I'm not sure on the timing yet, I'm launching issue 1 of my new series, Wet Cement, which is a suburban horror set in New Jersey in 2015. And then Horror Shorts number 2 and the re-release of Horror Shorts 1 in full color, where you get to see a story so close to my heart about a man eating corn on the toilet. And so any of those 3, I'll be available if you want to get me on for an 8th time.
Oh my God, we might as well just make it 8, 9, and 10th.
Look, let me just put it this way, Cody. Don't go nuts here, because I have 24 books coming out this year.
Damn, dude.
Yep.
Damn. So how many pages are you pumping out a day?
See, this is the problem, is that because of moving into a new apartment completely on foot, by the way, I don't drive, and so I've had to all the furniture I've gotten for this place, because I took everything I had to Canada with me, came back to LA, I'm like, nothing here. All right, move into a place, go on Facebook Marketplace, what can I walk to and then carry back? Couch was hard. I'm 38 years old, what the fuck am I doing? Anyway, so because of that, because of all the other crazy bullshit going on in my life, I'm getting 1 page done a day at the moment. So I've got to figure out a way to speed shit up. Fortunately, I was so productive last year, so I have a bunch of stuff that hasn't been released yet.
Mm-hmm. So, which is crazy. There's people watching this who do a page a day, and that for them is pushing it to their limits. And there's people who do a page every couple of days, and you're like, I'm only doing 1 a day. I'm not satisfied with that. I need to do 4 or 5. I remember half a year ago, Richard DMing in the group yeah, I gotta stay. I'm sleeping 4 hours a day. I'm pumping out 5, 6 pages. I'm like, dude, I'm concerned about your health, man.
So I'm down to 3 hours a day on sleep. What I do is I go home from 11 till 4. And I have 1 hour to have a drink on the phone with my husband who's in Canada. I swear he exists. And then I sleep for 3 hours, get up, make breakfast, shower, walk to the office. I get here by 4 a.m. And then I just work through. The thing that slows me down is coloring, because I find it so boring. It's the final part of coloring where you're making shit look nice again, great. But if you do your own coloring, it goes like this. Draw a page. Wow, my page looks great. I'm so happy with this finished page. Now I'll scan it. Let me zoom in real close and color it in to do the flats. It's the most basic stay within the lines bullshit. And you're looking at your work so fucking close. It's like a microscope for mistakes. So you spend this middle hour just being I hate myself and I'm bad at everything I do. And so that turns into 2 hours because you don't want to look at it. So you get distracted by anything you possibly can, like watching 3 seasons of Girls 5 Eva in the past 3 days, for instance. Just as a hypothetical example. So it's always that part for me. But when I'm doing my new book, The Lights that Guide You Home, is all a mixture of watercolor and collage. And so that one, there is no digital part in it. So that one feels great. I gotta get back to more shit like that.
We have Nicole. I haven't finished this panel since y'all started. It's me. I'm people. So, Richard, when is the next thing coming out from you? Give us some sort of timeline for you.
I think it's... Look, I don't have 100% clarity on when Whale is being released by Blue Fox.
How's that spelled? Is it W-H-A-L-E or...
No, W-A-I-L. It's a story about sadness and regret and ghosts. It is either this week or next.
See, when you said whale, and I wasn't sure because I know you came out with octopus, I was like, if he's coming out with another like sea creature, this is going to be unheard of.
Oh, and also, Michelle Abinader's book, When I Was Young, the stories of it's a big thing on Backer Kit, raising money for the Trevor Project, which is trying to eliminate suicide in queer youth. It's stories of like hope from being young, and I've done a 5-page piece for that called Miserable Fun, about present day me using a paper cup phone to talk to myself at a very awkward phase in my childhood.
I love that.
That's live now, and everyone should go on Backer Kit and back that, because
I'm actually setting up a show with Michelle. We're in the works. We're in the DM trying to figure it out. So I definitely is that on the Kickstarter or like any of the interiors, or is that just in the book?
It's just in the book. I'm gonna be doing a big update to all my Octopus backers tomorrow or the next day about that one, because I figure they're the ones who are most likely to care about another story about me. But yeah, that one it's live on Backer Kit right now, so everyone should go there. But I think so. The first review of Whale came out last week on the newest rant. They gave it a 5 out of 5, so it is technically perfect. And so that one, yeah, is either this week or next. And then Wet Cement, I'm fulfilling Ex-Wives of Frankenstein. The matches are here. The sewing kits are all put together already. The books are due to arrive on the 28th. I'm at WonderCon from the 29th to the 31st. And then I'm in LA from the 1st till the 3rd. So I'll be doing all the fulfillment those days, because I got to go back to Canada for medical stuff on the 4th. And so I think I'll probably launch Wet Cement, if I can get enough of it colored ahead of time, on the 5th or whatever the nearest Tuesday is to the 4th.
All
so
right.
I guess probably the 9th.
Well, everyone
and then
watching...
Horror Shorts will be late April. And then Ex-Wives 3 is May. Then the Richard Fairgray comic book character comic strip collection, which is called The Funny Ones, The Good Ones, and Many More, is also May. And June will be Lights That Guide You Home and Wet Cement 2. July will be Ex-Wives 4, finishing this, Horror Shorts 3. And I don't know the rest of the year 100% yet, but I've got a compilation of horror stories about shitting called Things That Go Dump in the Night.
I fucking love it. Oh, that's so good. Everyone watching, right here is a link to the Kickstarter. Be sure to back it. And if you're unable to back it, put it wherever you can. Word of mouth is 100% free and it costs you nothing. We do have to wrap it up, so I hope you all have a lovely Tuesday. But most importantly, guys, keep it geekly. Keep it dumping.
Dump it geekly.
Dump it geekly, baby.